term back then. But for influencers, how can I get their cosign? Because if I get their cosign and they retweet me, like it's almost like someone like putting you on their page and channel, and that's how you're going to get discovered. And so what I used to do is I used to, kind of reach out to a lot of these people that I wanted to connect with.
Yeah.
Ask them, just get a feel for like what shoes they were into or what they wanted, and I would try to get them really rare shoes at prices that they would never be able to get. So I would take an L on a shoe that I paid a little bit for and give it to them, so that way I can build a relationship. And then those relationships all grew exponentially over time, and then I ultimately was able to build up an audience and a following. But man, social media was so different. It's all organic. Now they I see you shaking your head.
Yeah, because
you probably know what it is. Like, there's algorithms now. You don't get to see what you want to see. Back then, it's like every they prioritize posts based on whatever's most recent, and those would always just go to the top of your feed. So it's not like a post from 2 days ago is going to show up on the top. And it allowed for a very organic conversation that you got to see what you wanted to see, and you could talk to who you wanted to talk to. And there really weren't any ads, and it was just super early. And so podcasting right now reminds me of the early days of social media, back when Twitter started, back when Instagram started, because you get to listen to exactly what you want to listen to. You don't really have to deal with a lot of advertisements. I think they're digestible enough, but man, it's a really good opportunity to be involved in podcasting right now. It's a good time.
It's a great time because it's still very early, and to get back to like with this whole social media, it's true. Like nowadays you see a lot of people doing the same stuff, and you really try to, like, sometimes, like, even with my marketing company, like, it's a lot of people that's doing that now. Even 5 years ago, it wasn't really.
Check this out. What you're talking about doing, I was trying to do, because I was like, once I figured it out, because I started really making money using social media, and everybody thought that was crazy, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I got to tell everybody about it. Like, everybody needs to be doing this for their business. And so back in like 2009, 2010, I was out there trying to pitch like all of like probably what you're doing now, maybe, I don't know, kind of what you shared with me. It's like, okay, I'm going to handle your social media. You guys need to be on Facebook. You need to be on Twitter. By the time Instagram was around, you need an Instagram, and everybody was looking at me like I was crazy. They're like, what's that? We don't need that. Like, it was not even top of mind, and I guess it was just a little bit early, from a timing or market standpoint. But yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah,
that business didn't work out that well.
Yeah, because it's just like, like for me, I had to sometimes sit back and just, I look at people like the Gary V's of the world and just sit back and just really absorb what he's talking about, because he be having like these videos that be like sometimes an hour and a half, and I just sit there and see what he's talking about so I can try to do something differently. Because it's true, like nowadays, like you have so many people, like for example, like models. You remember back in the day, like
real models or Instagram models.
Yeah, like
it's a big difference.
Yeah, like it was real models, and then like it was some girl named Sharice or Tiffany. They got they just got 2 degrees, like they just got their masters and stuff, and they're like, instead of being like a doctor or something, they just want to be an Instagram model. And like I'm starting to see that now, like how, like, I guess it's a copycat world, like, well, just like in sports, like if your coach or this defense or this offense like take them to the Super Bowl or to the championship and they win it, it's like the same concept. It's like, shit, she modeling, let me model too and stuff like that. I mean, sometimes it's bad.
Every girl wants to do now.
Yeah, sometimes it's bad because everyone want to do it, but then sometimes it's good because you actually see that it's people out there that take it seriously. They don't care about the money. They just like, they really want to do it, and you start seeing like they growth. You know what I'm saying? So it's just it's very competitive.
Absolutely.
So
I think right now, I think a lot of people are, kind of are intimidated by that.
Yeah.
By like how, like the volume, like it's much more noisy now, right?
Mm-hmm.
With everything, and that's why I think you have to be, like you just have to be strategic about what platform you think best suits your talent, right? And so whether that's, this is what Gary Vee talks about, but like whether that's voice, whether that's written word, whether that's video, or photography or whatever the case may be, it's important that you like kind of try not time them, but for example, podcasting right now is early, right? And if you are somewhat talented and you have a good message and you can bring some value to people, it's a really, really good place to be. Now, if you try to do that right now, let's say on YouTube, it's going to be much more challenging to get noticed and discovered. So taking advantage of certain platforms during certain times, for me, it was like an accident. I didn't plan it. I was just like, I heard a lot about social media. Yeah. And everybody's like, that's the next thing. And I was like, all right, I got to do it. And it worked out cool for a little bit.
So what got you into like podcasting? Like what made you want to do podcasting?
Random. I was working at a startup in Silicon Valley for 2 years, and making cool money, and I was really big in the experience. Then they decided that they were going to take the company in a different direction, and it wasn't really sitting well with me. And I'm like, man, I got to make a decision. So I took some time off from work, and I didn't really know what to do at all. So I took like a leave of absence, and I'm just trying to get my head right. I'm like, man, and what's really difficult is leaving what you think is a lot of money on the table. Right?
Yeah.
So leaving the comfort and security of a job that pays you really well and have the potential to do, like in a startup, they sell you the dream that, if the company gets acquired or the company goes public or gets bought out, like you're going to get taken care of, meaning, there's a big payout at the end of the day. Right. And everybody hopes that you're that exception to the rule and your company's gonna be the one. So there's a lot of like hopes and dreams that get hung up on that. But I was really struggling internally. I'm like, man, like this is cool. I'm making a lot of money, but it's draining. They own me. They own my time. They pay you well, but they own you. So I took some time away, and when I was in that in between, I started hitting up all my, what I would put in the category of like hustler friends, right? Yeah. So people that were doing their own thing, and that's the world that I had come from. And so I literally just started texting everybody, and I was just like, yo, let's grab lunch. And I was just trying to get some energy, right? I was just trying to feel like, what's it like back here? back in the wild. And one of my buddies who I hit up was Adam Schaefer, and so I hit him up, and what really selfishly, I saw him on Instagram, and he had changed his name. So it used to be like We Love to Hate Adam. Yeah. And when I recently, it was Mind Pump Adam. I was like, Mind Pump Adam. I was like, what does that mean? And so I clicked on his profile. And I was taking some time off from social in between, so I wasn't really super active, right? And so I was scrolling through his page, and I was like, oh man, he's doing the fitness thing, and like I was at the time, and that was the only thing that was like keep my mind right. And I was like, oh, he's got his own gym, so I was like, I just want to go work out there. So I hit him up. I texted him. I was like, yo, let's grab lunch. And he's like, what are you doing now? I was like, nothing. He's like, come through. to the studio, and I go to the studio, and I just think it's a fitness studio, right?
Yeah.
A private gym. And I just wanted to go train there, and I go in there, and I remember my buddy mentioning at the time that he had a podcast, but I was like, I didn't think of it, right? And so I go in to the gym, and they have a whole podcast studio. He's like, so he brings me into the podcast studio, and we sit down, and we talked for 3 hours. And I was like, that was not the plan. The plan was to go in there to get a lift in and get access to the gym.
So y'all recorded for 3 hours?
What's that?
Y'all recorded for like
no,
3?
Well, actually, I do have footage because I was so unsure of everything I was doing. I was recording everything, so I was attempting to log because I was like, I just want to make sure. I don't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
I was in a funky headspace time. So I recorded the whole conversation, but we weren't podcasting. This is just
real
conversation. This is a real conversation, not recorded, not podcast.
Yeah, just chilling and stuff.
We ended up talking for 3. Yeah, I was just I had given him some advice early on about social media, and long story short, he was just like, "Yo, we got this podcast thing. It's the podcast is called Movemnt. We're kind of a big deal."
Yeah.
And he's like, I want you to take a look at the business and let me know what you think. And so I was like, all right. So I went home. I listened to an episode. I took a look at the website. I was looking at social, and I'm just kind of getting a feel for what they were doing. And and then I texted them this whole list of bro, I was like, we got to change this. This is this is what I would do if I were you. First things first, we got to read through the website. That's not the look. But the I was like, social is terrible. I was like, just all these. I was just picking apart the business, but underlying the foundation was really, really solid. They had a really good message, and I knew their approach to the approach that they were taking to fitness and sharing that message was really powerful. And so we started doing this little dance, kind of back and forth. We were hanging out a little bit more, and just talking business. And then he's like, dude, you should just kind of be here, all the time. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going back. So I decided. So I gave the startup the deuces, and then I started with Mind Pump, and that was my first into podcasting. But I had been a podcast listener for a long time. Ferris was my guy.
What's crazy though? Before you go on, shout out to Ashante Stroman. She was my first fitness person on my podcast, and she told me about the Mind Pump podcast, and I heard it a couple episodes. They got a lot of episodes. They got 900 something.
Bro, they got that's a lot.
But it's very informational. I just got back into trying to work out consistently, and I'm that's a podcast I would listen to, while I'm working out because it's very informative. But at the same time, it's like me and you. We talking right now. We conversating about different things and stuff like that. So that's what I like about the podcast.
Yeah, they do a good job of kind of keeping it what you might consider lifestyle, so touching on business and just shooting this shit, and then also talking some fitness stuff too. Yeah, so I ended up not going back to the startup, and what I had told myself, I was just in my mind, I was I'm just gonna take a year off, and hopefully I figure something out in between. And then I ran into Adam, and the rest is kind of history. We've just been getting after it for the past, I don't know, year and a half or so.
So do you record with them, or do you shoot their videos or something like that?
So I started off, dude, I had no idea. And he goes, I think there's an opportunity for you to make some money in the business, but right now I can't pay you. And I was like, that's fair. I was I can figure it out, And I just, I kind of went with my gut, and I was like, all right, let me clean this bad boy up, and like